in an FMCG company, marketing is not about selling. It is not about advertising. It is not about branding. It is not about the PR department. Because see, for example, when I tell my dad I work in marketing, he says, okay, what ads do you make? Okay, if when I tell my cousin I work in marketing, she's like, okay, what are you selling? Okay, so it's not about marketing in an FMCG company, or it is about problem solving. It's That's as simple as that. It is about problem solving. You have, and the definition, going back to Philip Kotler 101, marketing is all about fulfilling consumers unmet needs profitably. Anything that can fulfill a consumer's unmet need profitably is marketing. Okay, and sales, advertising, brand management, PR, everything else is a part of the whole gambit of solving a consumer problem. Okay, so that's basically starting from defining the market, defining the consumer need in business terms, and working towards solving the problem for your business. That's what marketing is. And that's why the reason why FMCG marketing roles are coveted, because these are sort of the roles that are very closest to the consumer. Okay, fast moving consumer goods is something which we consume on a daily basis. Okay, so essentially the buying patterns and the consumption patterns of these products and the way we perceive these brands in a very big way narrates the overall consumer understanding and consumer behavior. That's why when you read marketing in your B schools, consumer behavior is a very important subject. Talks about perceptions, motivations, okay, all that stuff. There's a reason, because the FMCG, the product itself is so low involvement. You won't think of twice before buying a soap, because okay, someday you buy a Lux soap, the other day you buy a Dove. Okay, both in fact Unilever, but you will buy that. But it's so closest to your the daily thinking of a consumer and the way they react to different situations. For example, if you drop a price of a Dove soap by 1 rupee, it will start selling more. Okay, so it's so close to the usual psyche of a consumer that if you're able to understand that and solve their problem, you have kind of cracked the marketing code. That is what marketing is, and hence it is so coveted, as opposed to like a not downselling anything. For example, like Uber. Okay, you will take a Uber ride, you know the brand once. Okay, the brand will change its positioning to like once in 2 years, something like that, but you still know the brand, and the way the brand is perceived will very highly not change the way you consume the brand. It's kind of remains static, as opposed to a brand in an FMCG space. So that's marketing. Marketing is about problem solving. Just a reformation of that. There's a sales and distribution angle of it, which is about fulfilling the consumer need. There is the branding angle of it, which is like people, how they perceive the brands in their minds. Okay, what is the image, brand identity, all that stuff, and building brand associations in the mind. And the advertising part is basically how do the brands show up in the public domain, how that particular messaging is brought to either on TV or in digital. Okay, so that's like the marketing for you after you've identified the consumer need. Okay, very basic difference between B2C and B2B marketing. I'm assuming a lot of you have already studied the subject of B2B marketing. You will probably recognize this book, which is there. We used to study this book, but yeah, essentially B2B is more about larger consumers. Okay, commercial enterprises. You don't have sales managers in B2B, you have key account managers. Okay, it's less driven by emotion, more driven by logic. Okay, has longer conversion cycles. The price sensitivity in a B2B market is slightly lesser as opposed to a B2C market, and the demand equations are very different. So in B2B marketing we define customers, versus in a B2C space we'll define consumers. So very basic differentiation, but this in a way also defines when you apply for these roles, you have to be very conscious of the differences, and how this is different from how a B2B marketing role in a company is different from a B2C role. And it all goes down to the basics. It's about it's more logic, less perceptions, less emotions. Okay, a big B2B sale won't happen just because someone saw your ad and got moved by it. Okay, a B2C sale can happen because people loved your brand, they loved the messaging you brought in, and then they were very keen on buying that, trying that brand. Okay, so very basic. Again, we can talk more about it if you want in the questions, but need to understand B2B marketing is much more static. It's much more long term. It's much more, takes much more effort to convert, and the demand equations are sometimes not in your control. For example, if oil prices sell, the Gale or a ONGC of the world who will do B2B marketing to the consumers would do it very differently. Okay, so that's the essential case. And now that's the second section where I talk about what do you see when it says, when I was saying there are roles outside the brand management and the sales roles. Okay, so marketing has definitely evolved with digital. For example, I can tell you in HUL, when I started 2018, the digital spend of HUL was roughly around 10%. Okay, so we used to spend 90% of our money on TV. And don't quote me, don't quote the number. I'm just saying it was a huge number on TV, and the digital spends were less. But now it's 60 on TV, 40 on digital. In fact, there are brands like Mama Earth, brands like Plum, brands like Wow, digital first, TTC brands, direct to consumer brands, who kind of do all their marketing on digital only, and their TV component is very less. Man Company, you will seldom see their ad, right? But you will see their ads on digital. So the paradigm is shifting, and it's shifting big time. Okay, and it is shifting because number one, Geo came in 2016, completely changed the way we consume internet, completely changed the way the internet penetration in India happened. You now, people in rural areas have access to internet, quick 4G networks are there, so they can kind of consume a lot of social media, a lot of digital media. Yeah, and e-commerce has become even more. The deliveries have, like Priyanka was talking about quick commerce, the deliveries, the logistics has been sorted. E-commerce and the way of buying online, thanks to pandemic, has become even more feasible. Digital payments have come in, so all these have contributed to digital becoming a very, very big channel, which I think you all agree. I'm just stating that out. And hence, once a channel becomes so big that it kind of becomes the mainstay, it needs people to crack that channel. And hence, the traditional marketeers, like marketeers in early 2000s, who used to like study cracking ads on TV, mass media, print. Okay, now they've been made to evolve on understanding the social landscape, understanding the digital landscape. Now they're being able to, now they are being made to understand how does a Facebook advertisement work, how does Google search PPC, pay per click advertising work, how do you advertise on Instagram. Okay, how do you build brands on digital, how do you create a DTC website. So they are kind of being told to get into that digital space, and as a result of that, people like me have become important. People like me who have that sort of skill set where we can kind of own the entire digital PNL of a brand have become important. And we now have an equal seat with the Priyanka, who would essentially still manage the brand. She will still say, "I this is my brand, this is my brand identity, this is my money." But I will sit next to her and say, "Okay, Priyanka, let me help build your brand on digital. Okay, let me help you do the right things on digital." So I am still solving a consumer need, but on a different channel in a different way. So effectively, if someone asks me, I still call myself as a brand manager, but I say I'm a digital brand manager, I'm a digital growth marketing manager, I am a digital product marketing manager. So I am still doing marketing, I am still designing campaigns, but I'm designing it on different channels. So again, everybody would love to be a brand manager and be lucky as what Priyanka is, but the reality is that there are only so many roles, and we need to look outside and we need to be prepared for what we can more do. Okay, so essentially, like I was saying, marketing at an FMCG, traditional roles what Priyanka talked about at length, brand PNL managers manage 4Ps. Okay, but now there is a whole set of team that's sort of helping this brand manager build the brand on digital. Okay, I'll talk about those roles next. Performance marketeers, organic marketeers, media managers, consumer marketing insights, CMI, analytics folks. There are so many people on digital helping this brand manager do the right thing. And when so this is the case, but when you come to more product-based companies like Zomato, Paytm, Cred, who do you think are calling the shots? It's people who are developing the product, which is they are the product marketing managers, or sometimes they're called growth marketing managers. I'll talk about the term growth marketing or growth hacking, but essentially because it's a completely digital product. It does not have any shape or form in a physical form, unlike an FMCG. These are purely brands built on digital, sold on digital, consumed on digital. Okay, the product and the growth marketing managers essentially kind of become the de facto brand managers. There's still a brand manager in Uber, but their role is slightly secondary or even equal to what a growth marketing manager would do, because a growth marketing manager would define, or a product marketing manager, or a would define, or a digital manager would define how the brand portrays itself in the digital space, and the Uber brand marketing manager will essentially still manage the image and all that stuff. So very important. Just talk about the growth marketing and the growth hacking bit. It's nothing. It's a fancy term. It's a fancy term which product managers essentially have coined. So basically, people who had a technical background like me and wanted to do product management and had a good interest in marketing, they combined that two and said, okay, we will be the product marketing manager, or we'll be the growth marketing manager, who are essentially doing nothing but they're trying to capture the consumer relevance across the 4 stages of a digital cycle. And I'll talk about the cycle next, which is awareness, engagement, acquisition, and retention. So, and growth hacking is all about chasing a North Star metric, chasing a metric. For example, for Hotstar, for example, Disney Plus Hotstar, the metric is that they want to drive as many paid subscriptions to their pack as possible. So that is the North Star metric for that growth marketing manager. So all the marketing that's done on that platform is done to drive most of the marketing. I should not say all. Most of the marketing is done to drive that conversion goal, which is driving signups, okay, or driving subscriptions on the platform. So that's what growth marketing is. It's nothing fancy. You will also see that on my LinkedIn profile and a lot of people using it. It's about chasing a KPI and directing your marketing towards chasing a KPI. Okay, that's more or less it.